You chose silence. Not a heavy, resentful silence calculated to inflict pain. Not a tactic in the countless exhausting emotional games that, at this age, we are all too tired of playing. This is a different kind of silence. A clean silence, almost an act of respect. Respect for your own boundaries, and respect for the truth that a connection, however beautiful it once was, no longer fits. You stepped back, no drama, no bitter final words. You simply withdrew your energy. And while you are focused on rediscovering that inner peace, an entirely different process, deep and primal, is beginning to unfold in her mind. A process she isn't consciously aware of, yet feels in every cell. Today, we won't just talk about what she might be thinking. We are going deeper, into the scientific foundation of what actually happens in a woman's brain when a man chooses to walk away in stillness. Because what you have done, when executed with clarity rather than bitterness, doesn't just send a message. It triggers a biological response. Let's start with this staggering fact: to the human brain, the pain of social rejection is not a metaphor. It is a physiological reality. Neuroscientists, using fMRI technology to scan the brain, have discovered something extraordinary. When a person experiences rejection, exclusion, or abandonment, the areas of the brain that activate, specifically the dorsal anterior cingulate cortex and the anterior insula, are the exact same regions activated when the body endures physical pain. Let that sink in. The hollow, sinking feeling she experiences upon realizing your absence is, neurologically speaking, as real as a bruise or a cut. Our ancestors evolved to live in tribes. Social cohesion wasn't a luxury, it was a survival mechanism. Banishment from the tribe meant death. Thus, our brains developed an hypersensitive alarm system to warn us of the threat of isolation. That system is social pain. When you were present, your presence, even a goodnight text, a check-in call, or simply her knowledge that you were thinking of her, acted as a continuous emotional analgesic. It soothed that alarm system. It told her primal brain, you are safe. You are connected. You belong. And then, you went silent. Your silence didn't just remove words. It abruptly cut off the flow of neurological painkillers she had grown accustomed to. The alarm system, which had been dormant, is violently jolted awake and begins to blare. This isn't a conscious thought like, oh, he's not texting me anymore. This is a shock at a biological level. An visceral feeling that something is wrong, a creeping unease she can't quite define. Initially, she will try to rationalize it. He's busy. He needs space. He's sulking. Her conscious mind will scramble for a logical explanation to mute the siren screaming from her primal brain. She will scroll through old conversations, searching for a clue, an explanation for this sudden shift. She seeks an external reason for the internal discomfort. But your silence, because it isn't punitive, because it isn't accompanied by anger or drama, gives her nothing to grasp onto. If you were yelling, arguing, or pleading, she would have something to react against. She could blame you, feel righteous, feel powerful. Your chaos would be a distraction, saving her from facing the void. But you didn't give her that distraction. You gave her a terrifying gift, empty space. And in that space, there is nothing to fight, nothing to resist, except her own emotions. The neurological alarm grows louder. The initial vague discomfort begins to crystallize into specific questions. Why does his absence feel so heavy? Why is this stillness so loud? This is the first and most crucial phase. Before logic and complex analysis of the relationship begin, there is a jolt at the biological level. Your silence has forced her nervous system to confront a fundamental truth: a vital source of safety and connection has vanished. And her brain, programmed over millions of years of evolution to treat that loss as a mortal threat, is reacting powerfully. It is not weakness. It is not that she can't live without you. It is evidence that the connection between you is real, and its disappearance has left a biological imprint. You didn't try to be unforgettable. But by withdrawing in respectful stillness, you inadvertently activated one of the most powerful mechanisms in the human brain, the alarm that sounds when a crucial social bond is broken. And the real storm, her internal storm, has only just begun. The pattern breaks. That initial biological shock, the screaming siren in her nervous system, is just the opening act. Once the body has spoken, the mind begins to try and catch up. This is where we enter even more complex territory, the realm of shattered expectations and torn-up psychological scripts. At our age, we've seen enough relationships begin and end to know there's an unspoken script, a dance most people follow when a connection dissolves. She, unconsciously, expected you to dance. She was ready for her role in this familiar play. But you never took the stage. Part 1, the expectation of chaos versus the reality of calm. Let's be honest. In the standard breakup script, especially when the man is the one left behind, there is an expected sequence of reactions. Psychology calls this the manifestation of anxious attachment. It's a storm. It's the long texts at 2 a.m., trying to explain, analyze, and dissect every word, every action. It's the emotional phone calls, the cracking voice, the pleading for another chance. It's the constant presence, the subtle comments on social media, the attempts to accidentally show up where she hangs out. It's a chase. A resistance. A desperate attempt to grasp what is slipping away. It is chaos. And although she might say she doesn't want that, a deep part of her subconscious expects it. Why? Because that chaos, in a strange way, offers validation. Your pursuit affirms her value. It tells her, you are so important that I am willing to abandon my self-respect to have you. You are so impactful that you can throw a man into turmoil. Your resistance gives her a clear role to play, the desired one, the powerful one, the one holding the key to your peace. Your fight to keep her, however tiring, is a distorted compliment. It feeds the ego. It makes her departure seem like a momentous, impactful decision. But what did you do? You gave her stillness. You didn't participate in the drama. You didn't read the expected lines. Instead of a storm, you brought a calm lake. Instead of resistance, you brought acceptance. Instead of a chase, you brought stillness. This is not the behavior of someone with an anxious attachment style. This is the behavior of a man operating from a place of inner security. A man who understands his value is not determined by another's approval, and his peace is non-negotiable. Your action radically broke the pattern. It's as if she prepared for a boxing match, put on her gloves, got into a defensive stance, and then you stepped into the ring, smiled, and sat down to meditate. The confusion is inevitable. Her entire mental script becomes useless. The role she was prepared to play suddenly ceases to exist. She cannot be the desired one if no one is overtly desiring her. She cannot be the one in power if you are not granting her any power over your emotions. Your calm stripped her of all familiar footholds. It forced her to look at the situation without the filter of drama. Without your chaos to distract her, she is left alone with her decision and its consequences. Your silence becomes a giant mirror, and the reflection in it is not a broken man, but her own choices and the void they created. This is a subtle but incredibly potent shift in power. Power is no longer about who leaves or stays. Power resides in who masters their own internal world. By refusing to participate in the chaos, you demonstrated that you are the master of yours. You don't need her to validate your worth. You don't need her presence to feel complete. You are not fighting to keep her because you respect yourself enough not to cling to someone who doesn't want to stay. And that realization, for a woman accustomed to the old pattern, is more daunting than any accusation. Part 2, Punitive Silence versus Strategic Stillness. Now, we need to pause at a crucial point. Because mature men with a conscience, will have a question echoing in their minds right now. Men we see in the comments have asked it, is this toxic? Am I using silence as a weapon? Am I punishing her? It's a valid question. And the difference lies in a single word: intent. The world of psychology has a term for using silence as a weapon: stonewalling. The Gottman Institute, a leading authority on relationship research, identifies stonewalling as one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse in a relationship. Stonewalling is a deliberate act intended to punish, control, and manipulate the partner. It's when you intentionally ignore, show contempt, and withdraw with icy coldness to make the other person feel small, guilty, and desperate. It is a wall you build to lock them out in misery. It is toxic behavior. But the stillness we are discussing here, the stillness of a Stoic man, is not stonewalling. It is a fundamentally different action, stemming from a completely different intent. We can call it strategic stillness. This isn't a wall you build to punish her. It is a safe space you create for yourself. Researchers at the Gottman Institute found that men, physiologically, tend to become emotionally flooded faster than women during conflicts. Heart rates spike, adrenaline and cortisol surge through the body, and the ability to think logically and rationally nearly disappears. In that flooded state, a man has only 2 primal options: fight, yell, say hurtful things, or flight, withdraw completely. Withdrawing in this context is not an act of aggression. It is a mechanism of self-preservation. It's a desperate attempt to prevent oneself from causing irreparable damage. Strategic stillness is the mature, conscious version of that mechanism. You feel the flood of emotions rising, the anger, the pain, the confusion. But instead of letting the flood sweep you away and destroy everything in its path, you actively step back. You tell yourself, "I am not in the best state to speak or act. Anything I say now will come from pain, not wisdom. Anything I do now will be a reaction, not a conscious choice." So, you choose stillness. Not to hurt her, but to respect both her and yourself enough not to turn a difficult situation into a disaster. The intent of stonewalling is, "I will hurt you for what you did." The intent of strategic stillness is, "I will not allow this pain to turn me into someone I don't want to be." See the difference? One is directed outward, the other inward. One is an attack, the other is defense. One is a power play. The other is an act of self-mastery. When you operate from a place of strategic stillness, you are sending a far more powerful message than simply ignoring her. You are implicitly stating, "My inner peace is more important than winning this argument. My integrity is more valuable than having the last word. I am taking responsibility for my own emotions, rather than blaming you for them." For an emotionally mature woman, though she might initially feel frustrated, this message will eventually be decoded. She will realize she is not dealing with a sulking boy, but a man practicing a high level of emotional discipline. You didn't play a game. You refused to play any games at all. And it is this refusal, this conscious choice to take the high road, that breaks every pattern she has ever known and paves the way for a different kind of conflict, a conflict that occurs not between 2 people, but within her own mind. The internal conflict. You broke the pattern. You refused your role in the theater of chaos. By maintaining intentional stillness, you created an empty space. And just as nature abhors a vacuum, so does the human mind. Now, her mind rushes to fill that void, not with peace, but with a silent civil war. She may look fine on the outside, still posting smiling photos, still meeting friends. But behind those eyes, a complex and exhausting struggle is taking place. A struggle she doesn't even realize you initiated, simply by doing nothing at all. Part 1, The Birth of Cognitive Dissonance. In the 1950s, psychologist Leon Festinger introduced a theory that permanently changed how we understand the human mind. He called it cognitive dissonance. It sounds complex, but the core idea is terrifyingly simple: our minds crave consistency. We need our beliefs, attitudes, and behaviors to align. When they don't, when there is a contradiction between what we believe and what we observe, a deep discomfort, a mental stress, arises. That is cognitive dissonance. And you, with your silence, have injected a massive dose of cognitive dissonance directly into her system. Consider the two core beliefs she holds after leaving. Belief 1, her shield: my decision to leave was correct. I did what was best for me. I am stronger, more independent, and I will be happier without him. This belief is paramount. It protects her ego. It justifies her actions and allows her to look in the mirror each morning. To maintain sanity, she must believe this narrative she tells herself and the world. Now, consider the reality you are presenting to her, which creates belief 2, the man I left is not broken. He is not begging, not collapsing. He seems peaceful. He seems solid. His silence doesn't feel like weakness, it feels like strength. This reality is not an opinion. It is observable data. She cannot argue with it because you are living it every day. This is where the civil war begins. These two beliefs cannot coexist peacefully in her mind. They directly contradict each other. If her decision was right and best, why is the result a man who seems unfazed, perhaps even stronger? Your peace becomes a silent accusation against her narrative. The brain hates this contradiction. The tension it creates is unbearable. So, it must do something to resolve the dissonance. It must change one of the two beliefs to restore harmony. The first option is to try to discredit belief 2. She will try to reinterpret your actions to fit her narrative. He's just pretending to be strong. This silence is just a game to get me back. He must be suffering in private, just not showing it. She will look for evidence, however small, to confirm these suspicions. A sad song you share, a vague status update, anything can be used to reinforce her shield and say, "See, I was right. He is still weak." But you, by consistently practicing strategic stillness, haven't given her any evidence. You give her no ammunition to attack the reality. You simply continue living, focusing on yourself, your work, your growth. Your consistency deprives her of the ability to rationalize. When reality, belief 2, cannot be changed, her brain is left with only one option: it must begin to question the original story, belief 1. This is a painful and frightening process for her. It happens slowly, starting with whispers in the back of her mind, often during the quietest moments of the night. What if I was wrong? Did I underestimate him? Was the peace I thought was boring actually the strength I didn't recognize? Why does the absence of someone who was wrong for me create such a large void? Each of these questions is a small crack in the fortress of ego she has built. Every day you continue to live your life with integrity and peace, you inadvertently take a small hammer to those cracks, making them larger. She is no longer fighting you. She is fighting herself. She is fighting the version of you she created in her head to justify her departure, while facing the reality of the man you are becoming. This tension, this cognitive dissonance, is the engine that will drive all her confusing subsequent behaviors. Part 2, Decoding Mixed Signals. This internal war cannot be confined within her skull forever. Its energy must find a way out. And it manifests in small actions, seemingly contradictory signals that many of you have seen and asked us about. She unfollowed me, but didn't block me. What does it mean? This question comes from the wrong perspective. You are assuming the action is an intentional message directed at you. In reality, it has nothing to do with you. It is a symptom of the war she is having with herself. Let's break it down. The act of unfollowing is an attempt by belief 1, my decision was right, to regain control. It's the part of her brain saying, I can't handle this contradictory data anymore. Seeing him doing well is causing me pain and confusion. The only way to protect my narrative is to stop receiving new information. Out of sight, out of mind. It is an act of self-preservation. She is trying to plug her ears against the reality of your peace, hoping that if she doesn't see it, she can convince herself it doesn't exist. It's an attempt to reduce the dissonance. But what about not blocking? Ah, that's the interesting part. That is the voice of doubt. It is the voice of belief too, the shaken part that refuses to die. Blocking is a definitive act. It is a door slammed shut. It means, it's over. There is no way back. I am 100% certain. But she isn't certain. The cognitive dissonance you created has eroded that certainty. Not blocking is like leaving the door ajar. It is emotional hedging. It is her subconscious whispering, wait, what if I really did make a mistake? What if I need to contact him someday? Blocking cuts off that option completely. I'm not ready to do that. It is both a safety net and a manifestation of indecision. She wants distance to protect her ego, unfollowing, but fears cutting the cord completely because she no longer trusts her decision 100%, not blocking. So, what should you do with this information? Absolutely nothing. The biggest mistake you can make now is to become a detective. Do not try to decode these signals as if they are some secret Morse code. They are not an invitation. They are not a test. They are seismic tremors from her internal earthquake. If you start analyzing them, texting friends for opinions, or worse, contacting her to ask, I see you unfollowed me, you immediately surrender all the power you have built. You become reactive again, seeking external validation. You put her back in the position of holding the answers. Your role in this phase is to be a lighthouse. A lighthouse doesn't chase ships. It doesn't worry if the ships see its light. It doesn't change its position based on the tides. It simply stands firm, rooted deep in the bedrock, and shines its light consistently. Your stability, your unwavering focus on your own path, is that light. Other mixed signals follow the same logic. A view of your story at 11 p.m. That's a moment of weakness when belief 1 is tired and the curiosity of belief 2 takes over. A like on an old photo from months ago. That's her traveling back in memory, trying to recapture the feeling of when things were simple, and accidentally leaving a digital footprint. Don't read too much into them. See them for what they are, ripples on the surface, revealing a struggle occurring deep below. Your job is not to jump into the water to investigate the ripples. Your job is to continue being the lighthouse. Solid, consistent, and unshakable. From missing you to missing themselves. We have traveled a long way. We've explored the initial biological shock of silence, the confusion when familiar patterns are broken, and the silent civil war of cognitive dissonance. She has gone through an emotional storm, all because you chose stillness. But all of that, the confusion, the curiosity, the initial regret, has one thing in common: it is all focused on you. What is he thinking? Is he suffering? Did I make a mistake losing him? This is where most people stop. They think the ultimate goal is to be missed, to be desired. But that is a short-sighted view. For a mature man, one who is on a path of genuine self-development, there is a much deeper level of awareness waiting. Because if you continue to maintain your stillness, your integrity, and your focus on your path, an incredible shift will occur in her perception. The focus will gradually shift from missing you, to something far more powerful. She will begin to miss herself when she was with you. Think about it this way. The early stage of regret is about nostalgia. She will remember specific moments. The way you made her coffee in the morning. An inside joke only the two of you understood. The feeling of safety walking beside you. She misses your attributes, your humor, your intelligence, your patience. This is missing an external object, someone who was once a significant part of her life. This longing, though real, is still surface level. It's like missing a good movie or a wonderful vacation. But the real shift begins when your absence continues and your stability remains unchanged. Her mind starts to make a cognitive leap. She begins to connect not just what you did, but how your presence made her feel about herself. Perhaps, when surrounded by your calm energy, her chronic anxiety subsided. Perhaps your unwavering steadiness in the face of life's small storms gave her a sense of security she found nowhere else, allowing her to relax and be less defensive. Perhaps the way you listened without judgment gave her the space to be fully herself, to voice thoughts and fears without fear of ridicule or dismissal. You weren't just a boyfriend or a companion. You were an environment. You were an emotional ecosystem. Your presence was an anchor keeping her ship steady in the turbulent waters of life. It was a mirror reflecting not your image, but the best version of herself. A version that was calmer, safer, more understood, and perhaps, happier. And when you withdrew, you didn't just take yourself away. You took that anchor. You took that mirror. Now, as she faces the world alone, she doesn't just face it without you. She faces it without the elevated version of herself that your presence helped nurture. The old anxieties you once helped soothe now return with greater intensity. The insecurities your stability once shielded are now exposed. She has to face the noise of the world, the superficial conversations, the shallow relationships, other men who might offer excitement but lack substance, and in that contrast, she deeply feels the loss. This is when the real pain sinks in. It is no longer, I miss him. It becomes, I miss who I was when I was with him. I miss feeling peaceful. I miss feeling safe. I miss feeling fully myself. She realizes that what she truly craves is not a specific person, but a state of being. A state that, perhaps, she could only access when she was in your energy field. This is a bitter and powerful realization. Because it means the problem is not external, but internal. It forces her to confront an even harder question: why can't I create that sense of peace and safety on my own? What was it about him that evoked the best version of me, something I cannot find now? And here is the final lesson for you. The goal of this journey, of practicing Stoic stillness, was never to make someone regret losing you. That is a byproduct, not the purpose. The real goal is to become a man with an inner world so rich, solid, and peaceful that your presence is inherently a gift. To become so sovereign that you create a stable environment around yourself. When you reach that level, your departure leaves a void that cannot be filled by distractions or fleeting fun. Because those things cannot replace the nervous system level safety and grounding you provided. You weren't just someone to date. You were a sanctuary. So, stop thinking about how to be missed. Instead, focus on building your inner kingdom. Cultivate your discipline. Face your own demons. Learn to self-soothe your emotions. Become the source of peace you are seeking. When you do that, you become the lighthouse we spoke of. Your light shines naturally. And if someone chooses to walk away from that light into the darkness, they won't just miss the light. They will miss the feeling of warmth and safety of being illuminated by it. They will miss who they were in that light. Your silence ultimately said everything. It didn't say, you were wrong. It said, this is me. This is the peace I have cultivated. This is my standard. And the loss of a man with standards, a man with an unbreakable steel core, is a loss the mind may try to forget, but the soul never will. And so, we come to the end of the road. It doesn't end with a tearful reunion or a remorseful confession from her. It ends somewhere much more important. It ends within you. It ends with the realization that this entire journey, from the initial biological shock to her complex internal conflict, was never really about her. It was about you. It's the story of a man who chose to take the road less traveled. The path of stillness instead of noise. The path of self-mastery instead of reaction. The path of building an inner kingdom instead of trying to conquer someone else. You didn't try to be unforgettable. You became unforgettable because you chose to focus on becoming a man of integrity, a man whose core values are not shaken by anyone's approval or rejection. Your silence started as a defense mechanism, but it ended as a declaration. It declared that your peace is not for sale. It declared that your self-respect is non-negotiable. In a world constantly screaming for our attention, you discovered the ultimate power of withdrawal. You learned that sometimes, the most powerful action is not a word, but intentional stillness. She thought silence was weakness, but what she never expected was that your peace would ultimately become the loudest thing she ever heard. If this video has brought you clarity, if it has helped you understand your own power better, or reminded you of the dignity found in restraint, we would truly appreciate it if you hit the like button. That small action helps this message reach more men who might need to hear this too. And now, we want to hear from you. This is not just a channel, it's a community of men growing together. Have you been in a situation where choosing peace over chaos changed everything? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Or if today's core message resonated with you, just type, "I choose peace." The journey to becoming a grounded man doesn't stop here. It is a daily practice. If you are ready to continue building that strength from within, make sure you are subscribed and have notifications turned on. Check out the next videos appearing on your screen. Each one is another step on the path to mastering yourself.